The phone rang sharply next to the sleeping Terry Gilson. He woke up abruptly. What the heck? He growled. The phone rang again. He picked it up. Hi, he murmured in a serious low cough. Mr. Gilson? Yes. This is Sergeant Preston from the Yukon County Police Department. May I speak to Mrs. Servey? Bellowed an authoritative voice in Wilson's ear. Who's that? Mr. Gilson? Please connect me to Mrs. Turvey. This is a police emergency. Again, the clear and demanding tone. A minute, Gilson muttered. He handed the receiver to the bare woman lying next to him. For you, it's the police, he said simply. What? She snatched the phone out of his hands. Hello. Good morning, my dear unfaithful wife, came the overly chipper greeting. I hope you slept well last night after you and your lover finished having fun. My God, Mick. Mick, is that you? You can rest assured, sweetheart. I just called to give you some information you'll need. Meek, pays. She tried. First of all, you can throw away your husky. It doesn't work anymore. Also, I changed the code on the garage door opener. Mick, please. It's not what you think. She cried. You do not know what I think, Sheila. But I didn't call to discuss it with you. I called to tell you that your credit cards won't work anymore. And you can pick up your clothes and toiletries in the plastic tubs behind the side gate any time you want. The voice turned as cold as ice. No, Meek. Please do not do this. Please. My wife pleaded desperately. Too late, lovelies. I've already done it. But where shall I go? She cried. Well, in the immortal words of Rhett Butler, frankly, my dear, I do not give a darn. The tube slammed shut in anger. I had started this process weeks ago, but this particular morning was the defining moment. If I hadn't been so sure she was sleeping in Wilson's room, I wouldn't have even tried the trick. I was surprised at how easily it had worked out and how empty the moment had seemed. A couple's victory, I thought. Too little, too late. I suppose that's appropriate to describe my situation. My name is Michael McDarby. I am 43 years old, and I work as a sales representative for a building materials company. I have been with this company for over 20 years. I married Sheila Pratt almost exactly 20 years ago. We were to celebrate our 20th anniversary next month. I considered the marriage a success, for we had two wonderful children. Our first, Angela, my angel, was born a year and a half after we were married, and then our son was born 2 years later. I loved my wife and children unconditionally. They were the meaning of my existence. No man could be prouder of his family than I was. We lived in a modest home, but it had everything a family could want. The 3-bedroom split level was our second home, purchased 4 years ago. It wasn't new, but we made an effort to update it and make it our own new kitchen. Then a finished basement with a workshop for me and a large family room that the kids could use for their entertainment. A garage where we actually parked our cars, and then new furniture for the living room and dining room. I felt like we had the perfect life. I met Sheila when we were both students in 11th grade. She was a pretty blonde with a nice body, so it wasn't hard to notice her. She tried out for cheerleading, but was unsuccessful. I played receiver on the soccer team and thought we might make a good couple. I asked her out right after school started in the fall, and she said yes. We had been dating for a few months, and in that time Sheila had matured into a very beautiful girl. I wasn't the only one who noticed. I thought we were dating, but never seemed to confirm it with Sheila. The next thing I knew, our quarterback, Terry Gilson, asked her out, and she said yes. I couldn't understand that. I thought we were a couple, but apparently I was wrong. Gilson was the star of our team. He was a big, talented high school senior with a strong arm and able to win unlike anything I had ever encountered as a quarterback. He was a coach's dream and a coach's nightmare. He had tremendous talent and fearlessness, but He just couldn't follow orders as the rest of the team realized. Terry was not a team player. Terry was just Terry. Our team finished that season with a winning record, but I wondered how much better we could have been if Terry had stuck to the coach's script instead of making it up as he went along. For all his talent, he was undisciplined and very frustrating for all of us who worked in his shadow. Terry often bragged about entertaining every cheerleader at least once. I was grateful that Sheila wasn't a cheerleader, but I wasn't sure that would protect her. There was no point in my being angry at Gilson. He was what? He was a ruthless womanizer. He viewed these young girls as meat on his plate and intended to enjoy them. I was hurt that Sheila had fallen in love with him, but I knew there was nothing I could do about it. Terry would be gone next year, and Sheila and I would still be here. Maybe I still had a chance, but it didn't happen. I started dating Marilyn Ehrlicher since seating at our school was alphabetical most of the time. Marilyn most often sat behind me and had me in her sights. Marilyn was a nice girl, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted something more exciting, but that was asking too much of Miss Ehrlicher. We got along fine, and I think she was impressed that a soccer player was interested in her. But that was about it. In the spring, I started looking for a replacement. Meanwhile, Gilson had dumped Sheila in favor of some other girl, and she was available again. I thought about it, but given the way she dumped me, I decided to ignore her. By the end of the year, she had found someone else, and I was on the sidelines again in 12th grade. Things were different. Roger Davidson became the quarterback of our team, and he turned out to be something. Terry Gilson was not. He was a leader and a better team player. He looked to us to determine who could do what. I thought more than once that this guy could make a coach. He understood what it took to win and to get the most out of what the team had to offer. The result was great. I was catching passes like never before, and we were winning regularly. When Roger would go into the huddle, he would be quiet, tell the play, and make sure everyone knew how to act. This was all new to me, and I loved it. I continued to avoid Sheila. My ego still hurt from my affair with Gilson. I wasn't really surprised when Roger started dating her. For all his talent and leadership, he was a quiet guy, and it was hard not to like him. Oddly enough, I was fine with them if I couldn't be with her. Roger was my choice. I think she felt the same way. Sheila wasn't the smartest girl in school. In fact, she scored an average C average and, like many of her classmates, got a job. She never had plans for college. She must have realized her limitations. She took a job as a bank teller at the mall. After high school graduation, I lost touch with her. I was on my way to college and already dreamed of playing soccer, drinking beer with the boys, and dating only the prettiest girls who would aspire to be with the soccer hero. By Christmas, reality set in. I failed 3 classes, and while I enjoyed every minute I spent on the soccer field, the rest of my campus experience was not so enjoyable. There was no line of girls waiting to go out with me. Beer was downtown and expensive for my limited budget. Classes were a torment, and it was hard for me to realize that the learning process was solely up to me. There was no one to monitor me and make sure I was attending class or completing assignments. It was a very different world. The grades posted on the board at the end of the semester were disappointing. I was in danger of dropping out. Well, I said to myself next semester, no soccer and no girlfriends. I might as well do this. It wasn't easy. It was a whole new way of life for me. It was a struggle. I made it through, but not by much. With a year of college under my belt, I wondered if this was what I wanted to do for the next 3 years. If I asked that question, I thought the answer was obvious. No. I found a job in an office in the city, and every morning I would get on the bus, work my 9 hours, get on the bus again, and go home. After a few months, I realized that this couldn't be my future. I needed something more. I lasted almost 2 years, but I was constantly looking for something better. If you ask me what my career path would be when I graduated from high school, I would have no idea. I certainly wouldn't include the sales category in my mind. A salesperson is someone who goes door to door selling brushes, kitchen utensils, or magazines. That's definitely not me. I got a different perspective when I saw what industrial sales was all about. You had to know your product and show people that it was a good, if not better product than the one they were using, and then convince them to buy it. More importantly, the technical side was something I could get passionate about. It didn't take me long to realize that sales is a strategy. What do you have that the customer needs? Why would he want to buy it from you? I applied for a transfer to one of the operating branches and was given the opportunity to work in sales. An inside job. That was the beginning. And the more I saw, the more I realized that this was what I wanted to do. I went to work, still without a car and living at home. When I moved to the operations department, nothing had changed. I was a newcomer with a small salary, and I traveled to and from work by bus. When I received my first paycheck, I decided to open a bank account. Until then, I had been living from paycheck to paycheck, and that was about to change. For convenience, I chose a bank near the bus stop and walked in. As I approached the customer service counter, I stopped in my tracks. The young woman who is soon to serve me was named Sheila Pratt. I was a little worried, but since I had a few more people ahead of me, I had a chance to calm down and think about what I wanted to say. I hadn't seen her in 3 years, but as much as I studied her, she was just as beautiful as I remembered her. It didn't take Sheila long to take care of the people in front of me, and then it was my turn. Hi, Sheila, I said, stepping forward. She obviously didn't know I was standing in line and was surprised to see me in front of her. Hi, Mick, she said after a moment's pause. What can I do for you? I'd like to open an account. I need to deposit my paycheck into it. Of course. Let me get one of the staff to help you, she said, smiling. Yes, thanks. It's good to see you again, I offered weakly. Yeah, it's good to see you too. The smile was genuine, it seemed to me. A week later, I went back to the bank to pick up my blank printed checks and saw Sheila again. This time, she was walking down the street, I realized, delivering mail. I watched her as I stood in line and wondered what was going on in her life. There was only one way to find out. After picking up the box of checks at the service counter, I looked around for Sheila and saw that she was standing behind the side counter, obviously not doing anything. I walked over to her. Hello again, I said, smiling. Hey, how's it going? She asked. Her smile was the one I remembered from when we were dating. She was sincere, honest, and very attractive. I'm Phoenix. I work at Polar Industries now. I work in sales. I offered. Well done. Do you like him? Does he have a good future? She asked, seeming interested. Yes, I like the company and the products it represents. I think I'm lucky. Good, Mick. I'm glad to hear that. Sheila, would you like to have coffee with me or something else? Hesitantly, I asked. We could catch up. Sure, that would be nice. I'll be free in a few minutes. Why do not you wait for me and we could go to the coffee shop next door? She suggested. Great, I said with a wide smile. I'll be waiting out front on the bench. Thus began our reunion, and within a few dates, we were back where we were. I was 21 years old and just starting my career, and Sheila was looking for a husband. I proposed the following spring, and she accepted. A year later, in May, we were married, and we were both excited about our future. A year and a half after we were married, Angela was born. She was a daddy's girl from the moment she was born. When she was little, if she was upset or crying, I would pick her up in my arms. She would calm down, smile at me, and all was well again. I always thought I wanted a son, but Angie was everything I could have wished for. Our son, Ben, was born 2 years later, and I was as happy as only a father can be. Sheila was Ben's special parent, and I was Angela's special parent. It was the perfect family, I thought. Sheila often told me the same thing. She was happy and content with our lives. She told me we had our moments, but they never lasted long, and I knew I was lucky. I had a wonderful wife and two wonderful children. Right after Angie was born, I was given a sales territory and was on cloud nine. I fell into the job like a duck into water, and within a couple of years, I was earning almost double what I started with. Success breeds success, and now I was earning much more than I expected when I started at Polar. 5 years later, we were able to buy our first house. It was a small bungalow, but it was all ours. Sheila spent hours leafing through magazines looking for the right things. Angie and Ben contributed too, but it was Sheila who chose the decor and colors. I just stood in admiration of how my family had come together. We celebrated our 10th anniversary at the same house, and over 30 people came to the anniversary party. I was proud of my accomplishments, but I was even more proud of my family. My children were well behaved and excelled in school. My wife was an exemplary housewife and mother. Both parents believed that the sun and moon revolved around us. What more could I want? When Angie turned 14, she started menstruating. At first, Sheila was happy to help Angie understand what was happening and how to deal with it. Things went well for a few weeks, and then I noticed a change. Angie didn't seem to be as close to her mother as she used to be. It wasn't an obvious change, but to me, close to my daughter, it was noticeable. I could not find a reason for this change in attitude, and discussing it with Sheila proved frustrating. She did not want to discuss or even acknowledge this change. She claimed it was my imagination and a man's inability to understand female psychology. I was still concerned, but since the rest of the family didn't seem to be affected, I let it go. Ben always seemed to be on guard. He and his mother were very close, and although I loved him as much as Angie did, I knew that if there was a serious problem, he would turn to his mother for help first. That didn't bother me in the least. All families form alliances with their parents, and they should have been recognized and respected because of my success. I continued to climb the career ladder, and while I realized that sales management was probably not what I was cut out for, I wished I had at least been offered the opportunity. I had my most productive and profitable territory, and I wondered what it would take to take the next step. It finally dawned on me that in order for such an opportunity to arise, a position had to be filled. Shortly after Angie entered high school, Sheila came to me and asked if I would mind if she went back to work. She had been a stay-at-home soccer mom for 16 years and felt like she wanted something to do besides washing, ironing, and sewing. I couldn't think of a single reason why not, but asked her to make sure that whatever she chose would not interfere with the children's lives and our ability to enjoy free time together. She assured me that it would not interfere. After a few months of searching, she found a job at a car dealership as a receptionist. It was not full-time, and that suited us both. She had to work there in the mornings from 9 to 1, Monday through Saturday. Since I was playing golf on Saturday mornings, I figured that schedule would suit me just fine. It didn't pay much, but we didn't starve, and her extra earnings could be used as vacation pay. If it suited her, it suited me. Our life continued for a couple more years, until one day, Sheila came home with a disturbing message. "You know what, Mick?" she said, not without some trepidation. "What?" "Terry Gilson is back in town," she said, watching my reaction carefully. "What brought him back?" "You know, his father is a big businessman. Terry is now the assistant general manager at his father's dealership," she said, still not as nonchalant as she wanted to seem. "And what kind of dealership would that be?" I asked, knowing full well the answer. I mean, where I work." "Century Ford," she stammered. "So what does that mean to you?" I asked, starting to see something else creep into the picture. I've been asked to to take him on as an assistant. She finally mumbled, "Wow, that's a big step. From part-time receptionist to assistant, to the assistant general manager. I didn't realize they had such a large staff." I'm sure my tone was sarcastic, and I didn't try to hide it. "Something you're not very happy about," she remarked. "No. You dated Gilson?" "I've played with him. We both know what kind of guy he is. He bragged about all his conquests. Is your name still on his list?" It was a cheap shot, and I realized it as soon as it sounded. "That's terrible. Are you telling me you do not trust me?" she demanded. I had to move. "No, I'm telling you. I do not trust him." Her face flushed red, and for the first time in a long, long time, she was very angry. "Take that back. You have no right to accuse me of anything. And what's more, you just said I cannot be trusted," she muttered. "I made no such statement. I said I didn't trust him. I said, we both know what kind of snake he is. It may have been 20 years, but leopards do not change their spots." I made sure she understood that I wouldn't back down an inch. "Just ask yourself this," I continued. "How can a part-time secretary go from entry-level employee to assistant to the boss's son in one step?" "I'd like to know," I demanded, "because I have the talent for the job." She snapped back. "Terry said I was just made for it." "You do not think I have the ability, do you?" she challenged. "I do not know. I do not work there. But one thing I do know is that this whole deal smacks of typical Gilson. He's setting you up, and you'd better be very careful, my dear." Now, I was standing right in front of her. She couldn't help but understand my misgivings and suspicions about Terry Gill, since motives, I could only hope that my message had reached her. "You're jealous. You do not want me to succeed, because it will make you look bad. That's the thing. You're jealous." She scoffed. The argument was going nowhere, and she wasn't listening. I sighed heavily, turned, and went down to the basement for a cold beer and some time to think. I had no illusions about Gilson's motives. He had seen an attractive woman he thought he could get without much effort. What did it matter if she was married? He probably remembered me from high school and didn't think I was much of a nuisance. I would keep a close eye on the situation of that. I was sure. It was a week before we returned to calm water in the house. My argument with Sheila was unfortunately overheard by our children. It was hard not to hear as we both raised our voices. As always, when things calmed down, Angie came to me when I was alone. "Hey, Dad. Are you okay?" "Hey, Angie. Yeah, I'm fine. Elite." I couldn't help overhearing the argument she admitted. "Who is this guy?" "Gilson. The one your mom dated in high school. He was our quarterback and I played with him all year. I tried to warn your mom. He's not a very nice guy and doesn't have much respect for women." I said sadly, "I do not think you were telling Mom what she wanted to hear," she said softly. "No, I think not. I think she sees this as a big opportunity and an important job. She'll probably go from part-time to full-time. So I guess there will be some changes in our routine," I suggested. "It's okay, Daddy. I can help with the food and laundry and stuff. I think she'll be making a lot more money now. Do not you?" "Probably. We haven't gotten into that. I'll just have to wait and see." "Angie, I hope this doesn't turn out to be a big mistake for your mom," I said, putting my hand on her shoulder and pulling her to me. "I just hope everything turns out okay." As I suspected, it was a full-time job and the pay was more than double her previous earnings. So, in that respect, she was being rewarded handsomely for her role.